I have met Hollywood actors, Idris Elba. I've met Donald Trump Jr., the son of the president. I've met basically every big person in politics on the right from Twitter. I've met here in Romania absolutely everybody who's anybody, actors, singers, etc., etc. And I've done this very, very deliberately. And it's one of those things very similar to, let's say, girls, where once you get started, once you begin the process, it becomes easier. Once you start and you start getting a few girls, you end up with lots and lots of girls. Once you start meeting important and influential people, you'll meet lots and lots of important and influential people. But there are lots of mistakes that most people make when it comes to networking themselves to the top. And that's what this course is going to be about. It's going to be a long list of mistakes not to make. And it's also going to explain the psychology of networking. What most people don't understand is as follows. There's huge psychology involved in networking. And there's three elements. The first element is, you don't know who I know. So if you go to meet somebody, let's say you're at an event and you meet someone, and that person happens to know the president. Unless they're obviously overtly in the White House, unless they're overtly a member of the White House staff, or they're a loudmouth, you may have no idea they know the president. If I didn't advertise the fact just now, or put the picture on Instagram, nobody would have a clue that Donald Trump Jr. and I speak to each other. No one would have a clue. So firstly, a lot of people don't overtly advertise who they know. Secondly, most people, when they do get a connection of influence that's important, they don't want to give that away. So most people don't want to give that away for a variety of reasons. One, because they're afraid of getting sidetracked or cut out. And two, because people are petty and jealous. That's how people are. So if I have a very important connection, and I know that introducing you to that connection is going to improve your life, what's my motivation to do that? Why would I want to do that? That's the first thing. And the second thing is, if I do that and it works out particularly well and you two become best buddies, then I've just been cut out the picture perhaps. That important person has one more friend. He's doing business with you. I'm not getting anything. So what's the advantage to it? So you have to understand that people are very secretive about who they know. And even if they do tell you who they know, they're very guarding of it. And thirdly, and this is the largest reason, is it's impossible to refer someone without also referring your reputation. So if I were to go to someone who I know is important and say, this guy can do this, and I refer you, and you fuck up, that impacts me. Even if I say, I don't know the guy that well, but I've heard he's okay. Even if I try and disassociate myself, if you do a shit job, that impacts me. So when people are referring you and you're trying to network, what's really happening is people are recommending you, but they're putting their trust on the line to recommend you. So once again, they need a motivator to do that. The whole networking scene is down to motivators. And what most people make the mistake of doing is they run around trying to talk to everybody without motivating anybody ever to refer them. And that's the biggest mistake. So we have two ways we can look at this. Everybody you meet, it doesn't matter if you meet the president or you meet somebody at the bottom of the chain, you need to do the same things with. So if you're very lucky and you walk into the room and you see the president there, that's fantastic. But most likely you're going to see somebody far less important, and if you do a very good job, you can network your way to the top. When I met Idris and I was put on that TV show, I didn't meet him first. I knew a lot of people who knew a lot of people, and I ended up there. So it's going to be very unlikely you're going to meet the person you want to meet straight away. But assuming that's the case, there's a few very basic rules, and these are super basic. And these are things I shouldn't have to say. Introduce yourself, be confident, body language is all explained in the body language course. Be sure of yourself, don't be arrogant. And third, and one of the most important things, important people, especially super important people, they're not what you do for a job. He doesn't give a shit. He's the president. Compared to him, you're a nobody. So you have to really understand the balance of asking them questions while also validating yourself. So instead of saying, if I were to meet an important person, and let's say that important person was in banking, for example. If I sit there and go, I'm a millionaire, I did this, I did that, and I made money, and da-da-da-da, he ain't gonna give a fuck. The dude could be getting £1 million a week, as far as I know. So instead I'd say, yeah, I'm actually looking for a banking solution. When I'm trying to move large sums of money, I'm struggling to get it done. What is the best banking solution? What would you recommend for someone living in Europe? So what I've done there is validate me as a person. I've explained that I make large sums of money. But I've also stroked his ego by asking him a question and engaging him in the conversation. That is completely different from me sitting there and talking shit, and it's completely different from only asking him questions. So you have to find a way to validate yourself while also engaging him and asking him questions and stroking his ego. Important people are arrogant. You're never going to meet an important person who's not arrogant. All of them are. So stroking their ego is always a good idea. Not in a pathetic way, because I'm not going to respect you, but just respecting their position and their intelligence and their knowledge and asking for some of it. That's it. There's a whole bunch of shit these people know that you don't know. That's the whole reason you want to network with them in the first place. So that's an important point. Next, and this is very key, and this could be a whole section on itself, but we'll start now. Networking is expensive. The key to networking is having money. And I say this all the time. If you meet someone who's more important than you, you're paying for everything. It doesn't matter how expensive the drinks are, how expensive the dinner is. You need to pay for it. You need to absolutely insist. No, please, no, it was a pleasure to meet you. It's on me. It's on me. They don't give a fuck about money, but it just proves a point. It allows you to have some kind of dominance and hold your own as a man. If you go to dinner with a really important person and that person pays for the dinner, do you think that same person is going to trust you with thousands and thousands of dollars when you're sitting there taking a free dinner with a little dork? No. So you have to pay for the dinner. That's the first thing. You got to look good when you turn up. You got to turn up in these very expensive places like you've been there 1,000 times before. You cannot be impressed by anything. You can't be like, oh wow, this food's great. Oh, this wine. Oh yeah, this is a really nice restaurant. It's just a fucking restaurant. It doesn't matter if you end up on a private jet for the first time in your life, you don't say a word. You're completely unimpressed. Like you've done it 1,000 times. These are the basic things. If you're gonna sit there and go, oh, wow, 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 then he's gonna show that you're much lower down than him. People at the top, they don't really want to do business or network with people below them. Why would they? They want to do business with people on the same level of them, as them. Or people maybe slightly below, but they have a good motivator to elevate you as an individual. If you're making it super clear you've never lived this kind of lifestyle, then you're gonna struggle. So you're not impressed by anything. You're paying for everything when you're around someone more important than you. When Idris and I were in Thailand training for his fight, every time we go out, I'd pay. I was like, oh, it wouldn't be offering. Just the bill would come, I'd just put the money down, we'd walk off. Now, Idris had more money than me. But I just whatever. It's a point of dominance. It's a point of, yeah, you're the Hollywood actor, but you're not the only motherfucker around here who has some money. And at the time, I didn't even have that much money. But I'm not a little bitch. I'm not gonna let him pay for me. Because he's the more important one than I am. So that's a very important thing. Secondly, when it comes to money, it's super important because networking is about chances. It is super rare that someone's gonna say to you, come here at this time and you're guaranteed to meet X. That's not how networking works. Networking is about taking a chance, and taking chances is expensive. When I met Donald Trump Jr., he said, if you're around on these dates, I might be free for half an hour. And I was in Romania. How many people fly from Romania to New York, 3,000 miles, and sit there for a week for a maybe on 30 minutes? Most people go, I can't do that. Or they'll say, can we guarantee, what about this? And they pressure the dude. And then the dude's gonna say, well, I can't guarantee, I've got a very busy schedule. How can I guarantee you anything? I'm the son of the president, I've got a super busy schedule, I've never met you, I don't know you. Meeting you is really not gonna benefit me that much. I don't give a fuck about you, I'm not gonna guarantee you a thing. If I tried to pressure him and said, okay, what about this day, this time, this day, this time, to try and get my guarantee, he would have bailed. So instead I said, yeah, okay, I'm around. And I flew there and I spent X amount of thousands of dollars and it paid off. There's been times I've done similar things for other important people and it hasn't paid off. But this is the reality of networking. Networking is never going to be guaranteed. So because it's not guaranteed, you have to have the ability to take your chances, and that is expensive. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and pretend that networking is cheap. It's absolutely not cheap. You have to be prepared to go somewhere at a whim, turn up, and see if that person has time. And maybe they don't. But you have to be there, right place, right time. And being at the right place at the right time is certainly expensive to do. So that's the monetary element. There's some time, and then you have to get them to validate themselves. You have to say, yeah, maybe we can make it work together sometime. Have you heard about this? Have you heard about this course? Or have you heard about this kind of marketing? Or have you're looking to drop shipping? Yeah, send me an email about it. And see how much they apply themselves. And what you're going to find out is maybe 9 out of 10 are time wasters. But you're going to have the one guy who really wants it. And now you have someone who's prepared to basically work for free in many cases. Work for free in many cases just to have a chance at life. And that's the kind of thing that can be valuable. Networking up is fantastic, but networking down is just as good. I knew a guy who said you need friends in high places and you need friends in low places. And he was absolutely correct. We could go through, in his town, we go through any McDonald's drive-thru, it was free. Go in any liquor store, the vodka was free. He knew everyone at the low places, and he knew the mayor of the town. So having people in low places is just as important as high places. So you're sitting here trying to make a list of all the people you know who are important. You now have an action list. You have to provide those guys value. Fine. But you also have a whole bunch of people looking for a chance. And if you're higher value than them, you're the value. Now you're the prize. You got to find a way to motivate them to work for you. And this is one of the biggest keys to networking, because if you do this effectively, then you're going to be more and more. You're going to push yourself higher up the ladder. You can find a whole bunch of college students. Let's say you have, I'll give you an example. You can go on Fiverr right now. You could invent a graphic design company. I own a graphic design company. You can make a website. You can lie on the website and say you turn over millions of dollars. You can go to a graphic design college or know some kids who do graphic design. You can go to them and say you're going to give them all interviews. They've designed 3 logos. You can go on Fiverr and say you design logos for $50 each. And when people pay you $50, you'll get them to do it for free and you keep the money. That's just a very basic idea, but it's a very basic example of how you can network lower by just feigning. When I say feigning competence, it's not even feigning competence. You're competent enough to make a website. You're competent enough to get the jobs on Fiverr. So by just being competent and just coming across as a more higher value person, you can network down and get people lower than you to do work for you. And that's another thing that a lot of people don't do. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Because if the people below you prove themselves to be especially competent and prove themselves to do a very good job, then you're going to elevate them. If you have one guy who does fantastic logos, he does them in 20 minutes, he gets them straight across to you, and he's ready to work like a dog, well then you're going to have a real company, aren't you? Because you're going to hire him. Say, okay, you're the guy. I'm going to use you all the time. I'm going to put more ads on Fiverr. I'm going to get more jobs. You're going to do them all. I'll give you X amount of money per logo. I'll keep the rest. Bang, done. So networking down is a fantastic thing. It doesn't make you a bad person, because if you find someone of competence, you're going to elevate them. And that elevates you. You now own a graphic design company. You didn't own shit. Now you own a graphic design company. Now you can be emailing all the 5 important people I told you on your list, the 5 important ones, and you can be saying, hey, just looked at your logo. Yeah, it's really good, but I've got this graphic design company, and I just had my guys have a look. Here's a few proofs. I don't know if you'd be interested. Something to think about. Let's catch up soon. Bang. Send a couple free logos to an important person. Let them sit there and go, that's interesting. So you've networked down, and now you're providing value to people higher than you. The whole thing about networking is providing value. Walking around in a suit and handing out your business cards, get a logo and get that trademarked, and I'm doing all this shit. I'm spending all this money, wasting all this time, and no one's paid me anything. It ain't a business. When you come at me with a business plan, my first question is, where's the money? When you want to start a business, the first question is, where's the money? How are you going to get paid? Is it PayPal? Is it Stripe? Is it Bitcoin? How are you going to get paid? How can people pay you? And how are you going to convince them to do that? How are you going to convince them to pay you? When you've worked that out, you can work the rest out. A business is money in, nothing else. That's lesson number 2. And that is extremely important, because it's going to save you a bunch of fuck-ups in the future. This leads on to idea number 3. The third lesson you're going to learn in business is super important. I've kind of covered it when I discussed 2, but this is very important. Start ideas for free. People come to me all the time, Andrew, I have an idea for a business. Maybe you need a small investment. It's normal. Let's say you're developing an app, you need to invest in the app, something. That happens. But a lot of people ask for insane amounts of money. 50 grand, 100 grand, 200 grand, to start my business. You can start businesses very, very cheaply if you do it the right way. Let's look at our beautiful demonstration, our beautiful diagram here of our makeup company. If you start a makeup company this way, you need minimum 200 grand. You need an office, you need logos, you need trademarks, you need stock, you need staff, you need company incorporation, you need tax, you need accountants, you need advertising budgets. You need 200 grand, 200K to start this business. If you start business this way, make a website, put some pictures on there, pretend you've got a whole bunch of stuff you ain't got, and start getting money in, you can start this business for 5 grand. Let's say for the website, 5 grand. That's 195 grand difference. Now, the problem with this business is you're going to start getting money in,
and you're not going to have any way to fulfill the orders. But back to business lesson number 1, because you're a fast worker, because you're industrious, because you work with speed, you'll find a way to fulfill the orders. Hey, listen, worst case, you give them the money back. Worst case, you refund them. But at least with this idea, you can test the viability of your plan, 1. And 2, you're not in the hole. So let's assume both companies are bound to fail. Here you've lost 5 grand. Here you've lost 200 grand. Why risk all that money when you can do it cheap? Also, with 5 grand startups, you can now, for the same price as starting one company, you can now start 40 companies. One of them's going to work because they're 5 grand each to start. One of them's going to work. So you have to learn that the idea of starting a business is not expensive. Get that out of your head. I'm a millionaire, a multimillionaire, and I will not spend more than 5 grand launching a company. 5 grand max. I'll spend 5 grand, and if I see money coming in, maybe I'll invest some more. Or when the money starts coming into the makeup company, you might reinvest all the money. That's fine, because that ain't your money. That's money you're making. You can build a company off the money you're bringing in from the company and never spend your own money. That's how you launch a company. Now, every time I say this, people go to me, oh, well, what about this? What about that? If you're going to launch a fucking airplane company and try and compete with Boeing, you need money, obviously. But I'm talking about for you guys out there, this is the Hustlers University. If you're looking at making money, starting a new company, or you already have a small company, some of the biggest mistakes you can make is investing lots of money. When you're broke, it's hard to make mistakes because you don't have any money to lose. When you're rich, it's easy to make mistakes because you have a lot of money to lose. Start companies as cheaply as possible, basically for free, by prioritizing money in and not prioritizing fulfillment. That way, you get to start companies cheap. You can start a lot of them, you have money coming in the door, and you can reinvest money you're making in your company and build your company from the ground up. Every company I ever made, including T2 Television, was done this way. When I got my first deal for T2 Television, I had a BlackBerry and a business card. And I went to their office and I signed the deal. I had a business bank account that was free, no tax incorporation, nothing. They paid me and I used that money to buy an office. Done. I started a television advertising agency. I could have blown my whole 12 grand and set up the office. But no, I bought a laptop. I had a laptop. I bought a BlackBerry, had a business card, landed my first deal, and set up my whole business off of money already coming in. And if you can do that with an advertising agency, you can do that with nearly anything. This is television advertising. This is like premier shit back in 13, 14 years ago, before the internet was big almost. Everyone wanted to be on TV. That's how you start companies. I started an advertising company with a fucking BlackBerry. This is how. This allows you to start more businesses and allows you to see what's viable and what's going to make money and what isn't without risk. It's extremely important you approach businesses this way and not businesses this way. It is extremely important. Get this in your head. These first 3 lessons about speed, about money in being priority over everything else, and about starting businesses with this focus as opposed to the cost focus, money in as opposed to fulfillment, that's good. I've already taught you more than you're going to learn about business anywhere else. That's key, because if you do things this way, it's very hard to have a monumental fuck up. It's very hard to lose money. And also, now you can start nearly any company. You can start nearly any business. Give me a business. Name something completely random.
A record label?
A record label. You want to start a record label. So, record label, what do you have? You have, this is completely on the fly, record label. So, let me wipe my board. This is completely on the fly, unprompted. We're testing my business genius for the Hustlers University. Let me clear my beautiful diagram here. Right, so how does a record label make money? Make. We have make and we have costs. So a record label makes money by selling records, correct? I've never run a record label, so I might be wrong. So you have to sell records. Now, a record label is a digital product, so it's actually harder than makeup, because how can you sell records you don't have? So what I'd be looking to do first thing is test my distribution channels. So costs, you need to find records you can instantly supply, unlike a makeup company. So you need to find artists which are, I wouldn't say struggling, but there's certainly, you need to go out there and find some artists which don't want money up front. So you need to work out some kind of commission deal with artists and say, look, we're gonna give you X amount on the basis of the sales. So you have to find, we're going to put broke boys. Because it doesn't, you know what? At this point, especially with a record label, although you need good quality artists to have a good reputation as a record label, if you have shit ones at the beginning, it doesn't really matter. If you have some shit ones and you sign Rihanna later on, is anyone going to be like, oh, they have Rihanna now, but 3 years ago they had that crap band no one's heard of? They ain't going to care. It's not going to damage your reputation. So at this point, you can just get broke boys. Get broke boys, offer them a commission deal to make to try and sell records. So let's say we're selling a record for £1. Let's say it's a 50-50 split, 50-50. Now you've got distribution channels. How are you going to sell the records? Where are you going to sell them? Apple Music, Spotify, whatever. You have to test the distribution channels, test them out. Test out an independent distribution channel. So let's say you do all the traditional distribution, traditional stuff. And let's say you want to try and sell some stuff independently. So let's say you start a website or you go on, is MySpace still even a thing for music?
No, what's the other one? SoundCloud or something like that.
Yeah, so there's a few other abstract ways you can try and sell money. You can try and sell records. Let's say through their own website or through SoundCloud, through some of the other ones. You can try some abstract methods. Now here's what I would do. I'm running a record label. I find broke boys. Broke boys agree to go a 50-50 split. I promise to sell loads of records. You have to promise. This is your job. So I'd promise to sell fucking 100,000 records a month. Some bullshit. I promise. I'd lie. This is what I do all the time. No big deal. 100,000 a month. Easy, easy, easy. I'd get them. I'd put them across all the distribution channels. I'd see how many we sell. If we don't sell any, do you know whose fault it is? The broke boys' fault. I'll come back to them and go, okay, well, yeah, we have 2 of your songs. It's not enough. People don't know who you are. We need to produce some content so to raise your profile. I don't know if you guys have any videos of you performing live. We need more music we can put out there. Da, da, da. And I would just continue to extract from the broke boys more videos, more songs, all for free, all based on a commission deal, and just put it out there. Speed, just like we said in number 1. Like I said, I've never run a record label in my life. This has come off the top of my head. Speed. Give me more, give me more, give me more. The more they produce, the more they give you, and the more you put out there, it doesn't matter. If you sell a little bit of each, you're going to start to make money. Look at what we do and what I do, all my different businesses. At this moment, I run CobraTape.com. I have the War Room, which is a business in itself. I have the webcam business. I have 2 YouTube channels. I have casinos. All I do, because it's just speed, scattergun. So in this kind of particular, if you're going to do a record label, you need to have as much as possible video and music that you can afford. And when I say afford, a commission only deal, just constantly put out there, speed, on every single possible distribution channel. That's what you need to do. Then what you do is, when you have these boys everywhere, broke boys, the broke boy record band, you have them everywhere and you have tons of their stuff, then you can approach someone who's not shit. Everything I've just told you about networking up, you have to reverse and do it the other way around. So you may have a younger brother, you may have some kids in college, you may know this guy, you may know a dude who works in fucking, I was about to say Blockbusters. Blockbusters hasn't even been open for years. Blockbusters. He's the only guy who still works for Blockbusters, standing there on his own. Works at Blockbusters, and he wants a chance. If someone ever goes to you, and let's say you're driving a half nice car or something, they say, oh, they know you make money online. Oh, how do you make money online? Say, oh yeah, well, you know, I've got a few things. I've got this business going. Maybe we could work together sometime, but... And then you have to get them to validate themselves. You have to say, yeah, maybe we can work together sometime. Have you heard about this? Have you heard about this course? Or have you heard about this kind of marketing? Or have you looked into drop shipping? Yeah, send me an email about it. And see how much they apply themselves. And what you're going to find out is maybe 9 out of 10 are time wasters. But you're going to have the one guy who really wants it. And now you have someone who's prepared to basically work for free in many cases. Work for free in many cases just to have a chance at life. And that's the kind of thing that can be valuable. Networking up is fantastic, but networking down is just as good. I knew a guy who said you need friends in high places and you need friends in low places. And he was absolutely correct. We could go through, in his town, we go through any McDonald's drive-thru, it was free. Go in any liquor store, the vodka was free. He knew everyone at the low places, and he knew the mayor of the town. So having people in low places is just as important as high places. So you're sitting here trying to make a list of all the people you know who are important. You now have an action list. You have to provide those guys value. Fine. But you also have a whole bunch of people looking for a chance. And if you're higher value than them, you're the value. Now you're the prize. You got to find a way to motivate them to work for you.
And this is one of the biggest keys to networking, because if you do this effectively, then you're going to be more and more. You're going to push yourself higher up the ladder. You can find a whole bunch of college students. Let's say you have, I'll give you an example. You can go on Fiverr right now. You could invent a graphic design company. I own a graphic design company. You can make a website. You can lie on the website and say you turn over millions of dollars. You can go to a graphic design college or know some kids who do graphic design. You can go to them and say you're going to give them all interviews. They've designed 3 logos. You can go on Fiverr and say you design logos for $50 each. And when people pay you $50, you'll get them to do it for free and you keep the money. That's just a very basic idea, but it's a very basic example of how you can network lower by just feigning. When I say feigning competence, it's not even feigning competence. You're competent enough to make a website. You're competent enough to get the jobs on Fiverr. So by just being competent and just coming across as a more higher value person, you can network down and get people lower than you to do work for you. And that's another thing that a lot of people don't do. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Because if the people below you prove themselves to be especially competent and prove themselves to do a very good job, then you're going to elevate them. If you have one guy who does fantastic logos, he does them in 20 minutes, he gets them straight across to you, and he's ready to work like a dog, well then you're going to have a real company, aren't you? Because you're going to hire him. Say, okay, you're the guy. I'm going to use you all the time. I'm going to put more ads on Fiverr. I'm going to get more jobs. You're going to do them all. I'll give you X amount of money per logo. I'll keep the rest. Bang, done. So networking down is a fantastic thing. It doesn't make you a bad person, because if you find someone of competence, you're going to elevate them. And that elevates you. You now own a graphic design company. You didn't own shit. Now you own a graphic design company. Now you can be emailing all the 5 important people I told you on your list, the 5 important ones, and you can be saying, hey, just looked at your logo. Yeah, it's really good, but I've got this graphic design company, and I just had my guys have a look. Here's a few proofs. I don't know if you'd be interested. Something to think about. Let's catch up soon. Bang. Send a couple free logos to an important person. Let them sit there and go, that's interesting. So you've networked down, and now you're providing value to people higher than you. The whole thing about networking is providing value. Walking around in a suit and handing out your business card and saying your name isn't providing value to anybody. You need to provide value, and if you can't do that, you need to at least promise to provide value. And if you promise to provide value, it has to be a genuine promise, because the world's full of promises nowadays and the world's full of lies. So if I was an accountant and I was doing a networking event, everyone I introduced myself to, I would give them some